Let's see. We have some paw tracks. We have some deer tracks. And people tracks. Those are clearly mine. So there was also a deer in my driveway last night with a cat. Welcome to How To Mondays on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. In today's video, we are going to talk about different ways to figure yourself out, different ways to identify what your identity is if you are going through a time where you're just really trying to figure things out. So I have 3 activities that I'm going to explain and talk through with you all. And I've done all 3 of these activities myself in coming to understand my own personal identity in all of this and what makes me feel happy and comfortable. So the first exercise that I practiced or did was from a workshop that I attended of Dana Ray. Dana Ray from Dana Ray Consulting. I got the opportunity to work with her through Graduate Women in Science in their Empower conference that happened in 2020. It was a great conference. So, if you get the opportunity to participate, definitely would say in future conferences join. They always provide great information. So getting back to the activity, she had us ask ourselves 3 questions in which you had to make a story revolving around those 3 questions. And so the first question was, write a story of a moment in the past where you felt like yourself. Or, you felt like you were being authentic. You felt really good about what you did. The second question is, the second story to write is a moment in the present where you feel most like yourself. And then the third is a moment in the future where you will feel most like yourself. And so this was very eye-opening and insightful to me because I was able to see a trend between a moment in the past where I felt like I was being most authentic to myself and I could just really feel like I was in the zone and in the flow with myself. There was a trend that kept coming up in the past story, the current story, and what I think would be my future story. And so the next activity is to think about and also write these down. I'm an advocate of writing things down and being able to visually see them physically and putting them on paper. And so you want to have 3 main categories and 2 subcategories. The main categories will be strongly identify with, kind of identify with, and not really identify with. And so I'm going to show you shorthandedly how I decided to write this out and how I decided to set up my paper. And then the subcategories that you're going to have are, for those in between things where you don't feel like, you strongly identify with it, but then sometimes you kind of mediumly identify with it. So, there are gray areas allowed. And so in these different categories, you want to write aspects of yourself and how you identify with them. So an example for me is that I medium to weakly identify with the fact that I am a woman, whereas I strongly identify with my my introspection and this understanding of self and psychology. And then I kind of identified with the fact that I am a scientist. And so from this, you're really able to see what you feel is your core identity. And you can really start to see what is the story that you are developing or you have developed about yourself. And then the last activity, which I think is really important to being true to yourself, is coming to write down, like, what is the story that you perceive of yourself? And then depending upon what you're struggling with or whatever is causing you this pressure to kind of be like, well, who am I? Figure out what is that thing's perception of you. So, it could be your perception versus the world's perception, or your perception versus your family's perception, or your perception versus your work colleagues' perception. It's really important to recognize that there are two different perceptions there. And identifying and being able to pinpoint those differences can help you to be more confident in knowing that, okay, though I feel this way about myself, I am perceived as this by others. And that can help you figure out what can you do to bridge that gap if you want the world or your family or your colleagues to perceive you the way that you perceive yourself. Sometimes the problem can be that, what you think is an act of kindness, if you would like your coworkers to see you as a kind person, may come off as too forward for them, right? Or may come off as just too friendly and overly friendly. And so it's a gauging of, where you're seated in this world. And I also want to end this video in saying that whoever you are, whoever you choose to be, as long as it is coming from a healthy place, there is a space for you. So there is a space for you. There is a place where you, for your authentic self, will be accepted and welcomed and loved and praised. And so it's really important that you identify what your authentic self is and allow those areas to shine and show themselves. Because not being yourself is probably the most tiresome and energy draining thing there is. I hope that you can add these tools to your toolbox, and this will help you to graduate with gratification. Bye. Well, isn't this a well way to start off a morning? Good old workout. Whew, y'all. I'm tired. About to go have my tea. And we about to call it. Well, really, I'm about to get started on my work. Hope you enjoyed this little snow video. Whew, go get your workout on today.